"I didn't marry you for your money. I never asked your parents to pay for anything." That's what my husband shouted, right in the middle of our wedding, in front of hundreds of guests, under golden chandeliers and a violin quartet that didn't know whether to keep playing. In his hand was the red velvet box that held our wedding rings, the symbol of love, of commitment, of everything we were supposed to promise each other. And then, without looking at me, he walked past me and placed the box into his mother's hand. Marie, his mother, took it with a calm grace, as if this entire ceremony had been planned for her. She didn't thank him. She didn't glance at me. She just turned, clutching the rings like trophies, and walked toward the exit. I couldn't move. I couldn't cry. I just stood there, feeling like a guest at someone else's wedding. The laughter had died. The whispers began. And then, my father stood up, calmly, slowly, as if rising not just from his seat, but from some buried truth he had been waiting to reveal. Before she walks out with what doesn't belong to her, a collective gasp rippled through the room. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, what would you do if this happened at your wedding? And where are you watching from? From the moment we got engaged, Liam's mother, Marie, inserted herself into every decision like she was the one getting married. "Let me take care of the venue," she said. "Liam's always dreamed of getting married at Beaumont Manor." I'd never even heard him mention the place. I wanted a beach wedding, something small, intimate. But I didn't push. I didn't want to start married life by picking a fight with my future mother-in-law. Then came the guest list. "Don't stress, honey," Marie told me, handing me a neatly typed spreadsheet. "These are the most important people in Liam's life." My family had a few names. My friends, almost none. I told Liam. He just smiled and said, "She's just trying to help. She's excited." I tried to believe that. I wanted to. The wedding dress was next. Marie sent me a file titled, "Dresses That Will Flatter Jenna's Frame," with 3 options that looked nothing like my style. "You don't need to stress over this," she said when I brought it up. "These are just suggestions." But the next day, she booked an appointment at a boutique and told me she had already made a deposit for one of those exact dresses. I told myself to pick my battles. Liam kept brushing it off. "She's just being... Mom!" "Don't worry." But I was worried. Not because of the flowers or the playlist or the seating chart. I was worried because somewhere along the way I'd stopped being a bride. I had become an accessory in my own wedding. The morning of the wedding, I woke up before sunrise. Not because I was excited, but because I hadn't really slept. I sat at the edge of the hotel bed, staring at the floor, feeling this strange hollowness in my chest. I kept telling myself I was just nervous, that this was how all brides felt. But deep down, I knew the truth. I wasn't walking into my dream day. I was walking into someone else's vision, one where I just happened to be the girl in white. When I arrived at the venue, everything looked like a Pinterest board. Chandeliers, orchids, monogrammed table cards. But none of it looked like me. My name wasn't even on the welcome sign. It said, "Celebrating Liam Durand and his journey." Not Liam and Jenna. Just Liam. "It's symbolic," Marie told me. "He's stepping into a new phase of manhood." I stood there, in my wedding gown, wondering what phase I was stepping into. People I didn't know hugged me. People I loved weren't even there. "They didn't RSVP," Marie said. "We couldn't hold tables for no-shows." I wanted to scream, but I smiled. I always smiled, until I saw the stage. At the front of the hall, behind the altar, was a massive printed backdrop with a photo of Liam and Marie. She was kissing his cheek. He was laughing. And beneath it, "To the woman who made him who he is today." I looked around. No one else seemed to think it was strange. No one else looked confused or offended. Maybe I was the crazy one. Maybe this was normal. But inside, something cracked. The first dance came and went. He chose the song. He didn't ask me. Then came the speeches. Marie was the first to grab the mic. "Today is not just about Liam and Jenna," she said, holding back a practiced tear. "It's about family, about legacy, about a mother's love." She spoke for 11 minutes. I timed it. She mentioned Liam's childhood, his struggles, his success, and how she raised him into the man he is. She didn't say my name, not once. I sat there beside my groom, hands trembling, jaw tight, and that's when I realized this wasn't our wedding. It wasn't even his. This was hers. I didn't think it could get worse. But it did. After Marie's never-ending speech, the room was quiet, waiting for the next segment, usually a toast, a dance, something light. Instead, Liam stood up. He didn't look at me. He looked at the guests. "I know this isn't traditional," he began, "but I have something I want to say." My stomach dropped. "A lot of people are impressed that Jenna's family paid for this wedding," he said. The room tensed. My mother's smile faltered. My brother leaned forward. "But let's be honest. I didn't ask them to. I didn't want this over-the-top show. I didn't ask for their help. I would have married Jenna in a backyard, on a beach, anywhere my ears rang." I could hear my heartbeat louder than his voice. "So, to make things clear," he continued, "I want to show you who really deserves something today." That's when he picked up the red velvet ring box. For a moment, I thought he was going to hold it up, say something sweet, maybe call me to the center and say sorry. But no. He walked across the floor, straight to his mother. "Mom," he said, "this is for you." Then he placed our wedding rings, the ones meant to symbolize our union, into her hand. "You know what to do with them." Marie took them like it was the most natural thing in the world. I stared at them, at him, at the rings now resting in another woman's palm. Something inside me collapsed. I wasn't just humiliated. I was erased. All I had endured, all the quiet sacrifices, all the swallowed words. For this? And then, my father stood up, calm, controlled, but his voice was steel. "Before she walks out of here with something that doesn't belong to her." The room froze. Forks paused mid-air. Glasses stilled in hands. And in that moment, I realized I wasn't the only one done pretending. My father stepped forward, slow and steady, his presence alone commanding silence. All eyes turned to him, including Marie's. Her fingers clutched the ring box a little tighter. Liam stood next to her, confused but trying to maintain his calm. My father didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "I think it's time everyone hears the full story," he said. And then, from the inside pocket of his suit jacket, he pulled out a small recorder. My heart skipped. I had no idea what he was about to play, but the moment he pressed the button, the room filled with voices I recognized all too well. It was Marie. "Once he marries her, we'll have access to everything," she said on the recording. Liam's voice followed. "She's naive. She thinks I love her. Just act sweet until the money's in our name." The crowd gasped. My breath caught. I froze in place as the audio played on, them mocking me, laughing about how my family was footing the bill, strategizing how to use our wedding as a financial springboard. "It's not about love," Marie said. "It's about positioning." "Don't worry," Liam replied. "She'll do whatever I say once we're married." Whispers exploded across the room. My mother's hands flew to her mouth. My brother Oren stood up, fists clenched, fury in his eyes. Marie's expression twisted into something dark. Liam opened his mouth to protest, but no words came out. He looked around, realizing the room was no longer on his side. My father turned off the recorder and spoke again, calm but firm. "You didn't just disrespect my daughter. You used her. You used all of us." For the first time since the ceremony began, I truly saw Liam for what he was. Not nervous, not pressured, but manipulative and calculated. He avoided my gaze as if looking into my eyes would set him on fire. My hands trembled, but I stood. Not to run, not to cry, to finish this. I walked across the floor, heels echoing in the stunned silence, and stopped in front of him. His eyes finally met mine. There was no love left there, only shock and desperation. I slowly took off my wedding ring, the one I had hoped would mean something, and dropped it at his feet. "I'd rather walk away from you now," I said, "than spend a lifetime wondering if anything you said to me was real." Then I turned to Marie. "You can keep the rings, but you'll never wear them with pride." As I walked back to my father's side, someone started clapping. Then another. And another. It wasn't loud or forced. It was quiet, heavy, full of sympathy and respect. I had entered that hall thinking I was a bride. I walked out knowing I was something stronger. The next few minutes were a blur. The music never resumed. The toasts were forgotten. Marie disappeared without a word, still clutching the box as if it might somehow save her reputation. Liam stood alone at the center of the hall, surrounded by silence, stripped of the performance he'd carefully staged. He didn't chase after me. He didn't even try. I sat in my father's car, staring out the window as the city lights blurred by. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt light. Not because I'd been spared pain, but because I had finally stepped out of the fog I'd lived in for too long. I had been so afraid of ruining a perfect wedding, I hadn't stopped to realize it was never mine to ruin. It had never been mine at all. 3 days later, I received a package with no return address. Inside was a single photo. Marie, sitting alone in the empty wedding hall, the lights off, her face stiff with disbelief. Taped to the back was a small handwritten note. "She did the same thing to me. I didn't leave. I should have. You're braver than I was. M." I never found out who sent it. I didn't need to. That one message told me everything. I wasn't the first. But I was one of the few who had walked away. People said I should be angry, that I was humiliated, that I should press charges or at least tell my side of the story online. But I didn't feel the need to prove anything. The truth had already spoken, loud and clear, in front of everyone. Weeks passed, then months. I slowly returned to my routine. But I wasn't the same woman. I was sharper now. Quieter in some ways, clearer in others. I didn't let people finish my sentences anymore. I didn't smile to keep the peace. I wasn't broken. I was awake. And when people asked if I regretted anything, I always gave them the same answer. No, I didn't get the wedding I wanted, but I finally gave myself the ending I deserved.